Matthew chapter 14. Now I guarantee that you will not have heard this word or this revelation anywhere else. When I got this from the Lord, I immediately went online and I searched to see if anyone had ever seen this and preached this before, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Matthew chapter 14, verse 22. Straightway, Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. First of all, this isn't the revelation, but first of all, just think about that. Isn't that what he had the apostles for? To deal with the people? Organize them, feed them, send them away, deal with the issues. In this instance, he sent the apostles in a ship across the Sea of Galilee, and he dealt with the people one-on-one. He dealt personally with them to send them to their homes. What I see there is very similar to the end of the gospel when he sends us on our way. When he sent people away, I wasn't planning on preaching, this is just coming out now. When he sent people away, he would say things like, "Go thou and sin no more." He would send them away with something to do. The gospel ends and say, and so they went everywhere preaching the gospel to every creature. They went and they did something. I believe that when he sent these people, he sent the Gadarene demoniac, "Go and tell your friends what the Lord has done for you." Every time he sends us with purpose. When we leave this place tonight, he is sending us with purpose. Sending us to our homes, sending us to our jobs tomorrow, sending us into the world with purpose. There's a reason that we're here tonight. And there will be a reason wherever you may find yourself later tonight or tomorrow. And that's the purpose. And when he had sent the multitude away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. When the evening was come, he was there alone. So now we see why he wants to be alone. He wants to commune with God. He wants to be empowered through prayer. When we pray, we are empowered. This morning in early morning prayer, every Thursday, 7 to 8, we have early morning prayer here. You can come in for 15 minutes, for half an hour, for the entire hour. But I was receiving revelation this morning. If you received the text I sent out, I was praying for people this morning, getting revelation. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. We always point this out, that Jesus sent them into that contrary wind. Sometimes we judge whether we're on target with God by the circumstances around us, and that's not a good judge. We cannot judge God's will by the circumstance. He sent them into a contrary wind. If they were judging by the circumstance, they would turn around and go back, because they say, wait a minute, this isn't God, but Jesus sent them. In the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the water. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit." They cried out with fear. But straightway Jesus spoke unto them, saying, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid." Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it's you, bid me come to you on the water." On the water. This miracle was not thought up by Jesus. This miracle was thought up by Peter. Peter had it in his heart to challenge the circumstance. Peter had it in his heart to walk like Jesus walked. Jesus said, "Come." When Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. Beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." Okay. So Peter steps out of the boat, and he's walking on the water. He is walking like Jesus. He is on the water. He had never walked on water before. He'd sailed on water. He'd swum in the water. He'd caught fish in the water. He'd probably sunk into the water, maybe dove under the water. Never walked on water, but he said, "If it's you, let me walk on water. Let me come like you. Let me be on the water like you." And he did. He's walking on the water. He's walking closer and closer to Jesus. And suddenly, he begins to see the wind and the waves. Now, this is the question. Now, I've preached on this a million times. Maybe not a million. Several thousand. What happened? What happened? How come? He looks at the wind and the waves. They were blowing when he got out of the ship. The waves were big. They were toiling. The wind was blowing. The wind was contrary. All that was happening when he was in the boat. He gets out of the boat, miraculously walking on water. Why now? Very similar to things that we do. We step out in faith. We step out in faith and we take those first steps, and man, we are going. We got our faith going. We got our confession going. We're telling people. We're praising God. We're walking by faith. We are doing it. And then all of a sudden, something goes wrong. Something happens. And we begin to look at the circumstance. Oh, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I have secret things. Maybe I didn't say. Maybe I didn't think I read. Maybe my confession's wrong. Maybe. What's going on? How come? How come I'm beginning to sink? Or maybe near a healing. You're believing God. You're believing God. You're saying your scriptures. He sent His word and healed me and delivered me from all destruction. He sent His word and healed me and delivered me from all destruction. By His stripes I am healed. According to my faith, so be it unto me. You are saying it. You're saying it. You're believing it. And you're in a high. You get that high. That spiritual high. You know you can conquer this. You know Jesus took it. You begin to believe it. You're saying it. You're feeling better. You're feeling stronger. And then all of a sudden you get the doctor's report. And nothing's actually changed. And you have that sinking feeling. That's what Peter had, a sinking feeling. Why? Why? The wind was blowing against you when you started your faith confession. The wind was blowing against you. The waves were beating on you when you were declaring yourself healed. How come when you get that report, you suddenly throw in the towel? It's the same wind blowing. It's the same waves crashing. And you know God said, if you hear my word and do it, the wind and the waves will not knock down your house because you will be on the rock. So why is it that we start to get out there, or maybe in response to the pastor, you're faithful, you're honest, and you've already given more than you've ever given before for the first month of the year. And suddenly something breaks down and you can't pay that bill. And you have that sinking feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have listened to him. In a perfect world, this would work, but this is not a perfect world, and I shouldn't have listened. He persuaded me. And now, I'm going to have to use my credit card to pay this bill. The wind was blowing. But in fact, the enemy was stealing, killing, and destroying when you started giving. Nothing's changed. You're still in a storm. But why now? Why, after you already get out there? Here's the revelation. You got too far from the boat. When Peter was walking on the water, that's today's title, too far from the boat. When Peter was walking on the water, he was walking away from the boat. The boat represents comfort. The boat represents experience. Your experience, his experience. The boat represents security. When you're in the boat, you can ride the waves. When you're in the boat, the wind can blow you here or there. But as long as you're good at bailing, you're probably okay. When you're in the boat, you're not going under. The boat is security. The first few steps you take, you can still hold on to the boat. You can reach back and grab that boat. Yeah, you're walking on water, but if anything should happen, I got the boat. My security blanket, Linus. The boat is stability. It's our stability. Man, before I started giving like this, my finances were stable. The boat is safety. It's a safe space. It's a safe place, like they have on college campuses today for the snowflakes. A safe space. A safe place. That's the boat. That's what the boat represents. You see, before you ever tried to step out in faith, everything was just fine, thank you very much. I wasn't really growing in faith, but I wasn't rocking the boat either. I was safe. I was in my spiritually safe place. I didn't offend the devil, and he didn't bother me. I didn't bother him. I was no threat to him. So, I'm in a safe space. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just floating. I'm safe. I'm not a threat. The boat represents that safe space. The boat represents that security blanket. The boat represents that comfort zone where we're comfortable. You ever, the first time you came to a church like us, did you feel a little bit uncomfortable? I mean, before you were really like us, before you were like, you might be sitting there saying, I praise God I'm not going to be like you, Pastor Frank. But you know what I mean. Before you ever came to a church where they speak in tongues. Oh my goodness, they speak in tongues. Where they pray for the sick and miracles take place. Miracles! They actually expect miracles. And that was amazing to me. I don't know, what was it? What was the controversy with Vice President Pence a year or two ago? And I hear these supposedly intelligent people saying, okay, it's one thing when you talk to God, but when he talks back, then you're a little loony. Okay, now in my way of thinking, if you talk to somebody and you don't expect them to talk back, that's loony. Why would I talk to God if I'm expecting an answer? That's a bit loony. And somehow they think they're intelligent. And they think that we're loony because we expect to hear. But last time I checked my Bible, he said, call unto me, and I'll be silent. Don't worry. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things that you know not. Not only do we hear, but we see. Oh boy, now they're seeing things. Delusional in the eyes of the world. So Peter gets out of the boat. Just like we get out of the boat, you get stirred up in a message, you get stirred into your faith, you get jump start. You come into real life church, Pastor Frank puts the jumper cables on you and puts the pedal to the metal, gets that engine turning, and the power goes into you, and you feel like you can conquer the world, the flesh, the devil. You go out, and you're ready to go. And you take a few steps through the week, and then you start to falter and maybe start to sink a little bit because you're getting out too far from the boat. I got news for you. The further away Peter got from the boat, the closer he got to Jesus. He got so close to Jesus that Jesus reached out and picked him up. It doesn't say that Jesus just skipped across the water, like you ever see a duck taken off in the water, how they skip across the water. Jesus didn't do that to reach out to him. It says he just reached out and took his hand. Peter is conscious of being so far away from his security, from his safety, that he begins to see, I'm on my own out here. Look at this wind, look at this wave, when in reality, he's right next to Jesus. One time, when I was out with Uncle Charlie fishing, Uncle Charlie, those of you who don't know Uncle Charlie was my uncle. That's why we call him Uncle Charlie. His name wasn't Charlie, it was Carmelo, but we called him Charlie, short for Charlie, and Charles. Anyway, he used to fish all the time up in New Jersey, and he always wanted to take me with him, and I was just a little guy. And he had one crippled leg, so he couldn't swim. And and it was a small fiberglass boat, the kind that you'd see on the waterway here. He had it out in the ocean. And when you hit the waves, no matter how fast you're going skipping on the waves like that. And I'd be on the bottom of the boat, and I could feel every time we hit, it would flex. The fiberglass would flex. It didn't have a hull with rooms down there. It was just a boat, an open boat. So I was sure I didn't know the properties of fiberglass, but I was sure that one of these times we're going to hit one of those waves and there's going to hole that's going to break in the bottom of the boat. We were going to sink, and I was going to die because he couldn't save me. And I could swim, but I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I can't swim that much. So I was always afraid. So I'd hide from them. They would find me, and they would say, "Oh, Uncle Charlie's here today," and they're all so happy, Uncle Charlie's here to take you fishing. And, okay, fine, I'll go fishing. So this one day, we're out and we're catching fish. We always caught fish with Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie knew fish. He didn't know people, but he knew fish. And we would always be catching fish. And it was always, now, looking back, we were always catching more than the limit, because I didn't know why he was hiding them like under the bench and under the seat. He had these coolers, these seats that were actually coolers, and he'd be stuffing them under the seats and telling me, not to let anybody know. I didn't know. And anyway, so we're catching all this fish. And I could see on the horizon really dark clouds. I said, "Uncle Charlie, you think maybe we should go in? It looks like there's a storm coming." "No, wait till they fish it. There's so many fish right now." So a little while later, those clouds are above us. And I'm saying, "Uncle Charlie, I think we better go because this is moving in on us." And he said, No, we're good. At the last possible moment, we'll just go because we're not that far out. We're not far out. Okay. Then the waves start picking up. And the boat. It's the way sometimes you see the sky and sometimes you see the water. Sometimes you see the sky and sometimes you see the water. And then the rain and the wind. And it's the wind and the rain. The rain's not falling down like this. The rain's coming this way because of the wind. It's blowing it. And I said, "Uncle Charlie, don't you think it's time to go?" He says, "Too late to go. We got to stay here now." Great, that's just what I wanted to hear. So he throws his anchors out, and he gets this tarp, and he stuffs me under the nose of the boat. You'd think that would be a safe place, but that's where all the hooks and the anchors and stuff were, and I'm getting pricked here and there, and he covers me with a tarp. And that boat is this way, and then the front is going up, and then the back is going up, and then the front is going up, and the back is... I was never so scared in my life. And anyway, all of a sudden you could feel it has passed over. It was a squall, and it just passed over us. You could feel that it wasn't quite as rough anymore. And so I kind of peeked out, because during the middle of the storm, I was looking out, all you saw was white, just white. Between the wind blowing foam and the wind blowing the waves and the rain, and just white. No matter where you looked, you saw white, like a snowstorm. And when this all stopped, I come out and I looked, and I was so scared, I thought I was going to die, I thought I was going to drown for a good 15 minutes. And when I looked out, sometime during the storm, a Coast Guard cutter had pulled up right alongside of us and anchored. There was this huge Coast Guard cutter right next to us. I couldn't see it because of the storm. I thought I was going to die, but they saw us. They knew we were there. And if something happened, they were right there to help us. That's the way it is with God. We can't see him sometimes because of the storm. The enemy makes this storm all around us, churns things up. Peter gets away from the boat. His security is so far, he can't get back to it. The waves are between him and it. The wind is blowing between him and it. And he loses sight of the fact that he has gotten right next to Jesus. He's right there. And he fears. And he's afraid he's not going to make it any further. He's going to fail. He's not going to get his healing. He's not going to get his financial breakthrough. He's not going to get his answered prayer. He's not going to go any further. And he begins to sink. And God is right there next to him. Because as he walked by faith, he walked closer and closer to the Lord. As he left further and further his security, further and further his natural safety and comfort, he was getting closer and closer to the presence of God. And where, in the grand scheme of things, do you think is the most safety and the most peace and the most comfort? But with Jesus. It was a false perception that boat was his safety and his comfort, and even his source, because that boat was how he made his living. Jesus was all of that. And Jesus just reached down and brought him back up to his feet. And he went back. You know, Jonah didn't get his miracle until he was out of the boat. Jonah got in the boat to escape from God. And that boat took him out into the Mediterranean, away from the coasts of Israel, away from Nineveh. He was trying to get as far away as he could, and the boat got him there. The boat took him. But when that storm came up, the boat was no match for the storm. See, if we trust in our own experience and our own safety net and our own comfort zone and our own security, there may arise a storm that boat is no match for. And so Jonah said, I've got to go. I can't stay in the boat. I've got to get out of the boat, just like Peter had to get out of the boat. They throw him overboard. He didn't walk on water. But God had just as powerful a miracle for him. I think I would rather have Peter's miracle, personally, than spend 3 days inside a fish. You know, that fish probably ate fish. And he was probably down there with half-digested fish. I don't think it would smell too pleasant. Have you smelled? Last week we got a warm breeze coming from the south. You smelled the paper factory down there. I don't know if you all smelled that. You smelled the paper factory from Georgetown. There's one day last week I was out and I could smell the paper factory. That's what, 30 miles away, 35 miles away? But when the wind is right, you can smell it up here. Well, I think inside a fish's stomach probably smells about 1,000 times worse than that. So Jonah had to learn the hard way. I would much rather have Peter's miracle, walking on the water, not sinking down and getting swallowed by a fish. But in any case, Jonah had to get out of the boat to get the miracle of God. And through that miracle of God, he got a much greater appreciation for God, and understanding of the will of God, and understanding and a demonstration to be a forerunner of Jesus, because it was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish, foreshadowing Jesus being in the tomb. Jonah, who fled from the presence of God, turned out to be a shadow of the presence of Jesus. Type. Showing what was going to happen. But it was only when he was out of the boat. When he finally left his security and threw himself on the mercy of God, God met him there. God provided for him. When Peter started to sink, he had enough presence of mind to call out to Jesus. And if you have stepped out and left the boat behind, you got too far from the boat to reach back, to look back, and suddenly you realize how fearsome the circumstance is that you're dealing with, call on Jesus. Because every step you took, you've gotten closer to him. Further from the boat means closer to God. He was too far from the boat for the boat to save him. But he was right next to Jesus for Jesus to save him. And I don't believe that he then looked back on that boat as his salvation ever again. Because after Jesus rose from the dead, what did he do? He jumped in the water. Left the boat behind, jumped in the water to reach the shore. He didn't want to do it in boat time. He wanted to go ashore and get there as quickly as he could. He left it all. And he met Jesus on the shore. But that was the second confirming word, because the first time was when he left it all and followed Jesus in the pocket. And that's the real key. When we can see that we can leave behind that which has represented security. Maybe it's a level of faith. Maybe it's something that we had believed. Maybe it's something we've been taught. Something from our childhood or something from another church that we've always taken comfort in, but it prevented us from going any further because it was our safety net. It was our comfort zone. And we didn't want to run the risk of going outside of that. are walking on the water. But as we leave that boat and come directly to God, I mean, I had to do that when I came out of organized religion and came to faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Because to me, and some of you, it's what we did that got us to heaven. If we did it, if we didn't commit sin, if we got asked forgiveness, and it's our actions that justify us. But then we learn from God's Word, and it's our faith that justifies us. And that we're forgiven and saved by faith in Jesus. And that was a step out of the boat for many of us. To walk out of that religious experience that we were raised in from our childhood, that we had comfort in, and to walk just to Jesus, just to Him, not to anything else, but just to Jesus. And the closer we got to Him, the better things got. And the more we left that boat behind, the more we walked on water. Because once Peter got to Jesus, and Jesus lifted him up, he walked on water again. Sometimes we forget that. If you have been already to the place that I'm talking about tonight, and you've sunk in, and you got back to your boat, and you're fearful to ever get out of that boat again, get out. Get out now. Because in my Bible, Peter had a second chance. Not only a second chance to walk on water, but a second chance to serve God after he denied him. And Jesus said, go tell the apostles and Peter. He made special mention of Peter. Let Peter know, I love him. I forgive him. So if you've made a mistake, messed up, begun to sink, lost faith, began to doubt, get out of the boat and do it again. And keep in mind this time that when you get too far from the boat, you're not too far from God. Because the further away from your boat you get, the closer you get to Jesus.